Hello everybody, this is MARXtehCRAZY and welcome back to Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team! In the last episode, we did some pointless missions and we also saw Team Meanies, who wants world domination. Isn't that swell? Anyways, let's continue. Now, I'm going to explain something. I messed up. I kinda did a few missions to see what I could do, and I accidentally saved. But not to fear, they weren't important. I messed up on one. I only ended up with a new recruit member. I will show you to him. I'll show you guys to him. It's Raccoon. Raccoon is a bitch. Raccoon levels up way too fast for my liking, but for now we're gonna keep Raccoon. We're also gonna go get Touchy if we can get Touchy. Can we get Touchy? Touchy? Where be Touchy at? Touchy. Touchy, where are you? There you are. Power plant. Hi Touchy, how you doing? Let's just have you join my team and let's go! Honestly, I think it's better that you guys missed what happened because I was not really doing very good in terms of commentating. So let's just... Warp Orb. The Warp Orb. Let's see if we can buy a freaking Warp Orb even. Can we buy one? Oh my god, I'm gonna sell some stuff then, because you know what? Screw you, Calcleon bros. I hate you and your mother. Ah, man. Okay, let's just sell the Blast Seed. Let's also sell the Plain Seed. There's only one. Okay. Jesus, why do we even keep these around? Where's the other Plain Seed? Get rid of the other Plain Seed, bitch! Thank you, Calcleon, and other Calcleon. Let's buy something. Do you even have a Warp Orb? No. Do we have a Warp Orb in storage? If we don't, then that Wurmple is out of luck. I'm never gonna save that Wurmple. No, I meant to say take. Let's take stuff from the mom. We don't have a Warp Orb, okay, guys? We don't have a Warp Orb. Let's go see if there's any jobs at Pelipper's office. Bulletin board. Hurry! Save execute! Oh, you know what? We haven't gone to Thunderwave Cave in a while. How about we just get to Thunderwave Cave missions going? I fainted. That is how I am sending this letter to you. Because I have fainted. So we're going to go to Thunderwave Cave, and we're going to go help some people who need help. Let's get right to... Wait. Okay, good. I can just take the jobs. Hey, take that job. Take that job. Suspend that job. Because until I can find a freaking Warp Orb, that is not needed. Let us go to... There are too many members on your team to enter this dungeon. Your team must be reduced to one member. What? Okay, Raccoon. You can stand by, because you know what? You're a freaking experience whore. You got a blowback orb? Oh, you would have a blowback orb, actually. Being the experience whore you are. Anyways, let's go to Thunderwave Cave now. Don't tell me there's too many members. No, bad game. Don't do this to me. We haven't been here in a while. Sorry I never actually did a description of this one. I came up with the idea after I started Mount Steel, so yeah. Did you just use Tail Whip on me? Yeah, you better run. You actually ran away. Okay, you know what? No, Flare, don't get distracted by the Rattata. Okay, actually we can get distracted by the Rattata. It's right there. It's trapped. It's trapped. Okay, let's continue onward to being trapped ourselves. Oh, look, it's a Rattata. Out to extract its revenge on its brethren. Oh, and it's a Nidoran. Or Nidorino. I don't know. Nidoran, right. I got it first the right time. I always get mixed up with those dudes, because freaking the gender specifics and stuff like that. I don't know how the gender specifics mix me up. Where the hell is the staircase? Yo. This ain't cool. Actually, like, where is the stair? Oh, does it continue onward down there? Stupid map covering up the freaking white lines so I can't see shit. Let's continue. I think this is a destination floor. No, wait, it's the 4th floor. My bad. Sorry, guys. I got your hopes all high and mighty, and then I... Poochyena! You joined our team? Yes, let's give you a nickname. We're gonna call you... We're gonna call you... Oh, God. Okay, so we named him Dark Dog. Okay, apparently he can hang out with us in the dungeon, but Raccoon can't. That's fine. You know what? We have a Poochyena now, and that's okay with me. We reached the destination floor. Poochyena! Don't you be moving with your ass. He's not even frickin' moving his legs. He's just sliding across the ground like it's nothing. Look at that. Whee! Whee! Okay, now he's walking. Thank you. Before he was sliding with the ass. I think he has worms. Ew, gross. Dark Dog, why do you have worms? Okay, you're an execute. Magical powers, thank you. Please come see me at Pelipper's post office. Bye. No. I don't want to leave. We gotta go save the other dude. No! Oh my god, this is... okay. We left. Sorry, other dude. Thank you for rescuing me. My other friend has now been murdered because you left him there. Look at those bad freaking pixel faces. Look at the faces. I look at the faces. Those freaking cute faces. Not really. Yes. Let's save. Let us save, because these missions are pointless, and if they don't get recorded, then, well, that's not too bad, because they're pointless missions and they have nothing to do with story. Oh, but you know what? The next morning. So, story. Story's happening. Let's go. Yep, see, Flair's not here again. Good morning, Marxy. Let's do good again today. Do you have, like, English issues, okay? Okay? Do you have English issues? Marxy, Flair! Oh, what was that? Uh-oh. Oh, Caterpie, how have you been? I've been real busy. Please, help my friend. What's the matter? I was playing with my friend Metapod, and then he used Harden, and then it got really messy. The Metapod got lost in the woods. He's still lost out there. No, please, not Tiny Woods. Oh, I see, that sounds bad. Hey, what do you think you're doing? Have no fear. We're here to save your chum Metapod. Wait a second, Caterpie was asking us to help. You think you can do this rescue with amateur level skills? What do you say? What you say is bad English. It doesn't matter who does the rescuing, see? The guy that does the rescuing gets to be the hero. Listen, Caterpie, how about we do this? How about you give the reward to the team that brings back your chum first? But I don't have any money. Oh, don't you worry about that, my little friend. I'm sure we can persuade your parents to reward us with interest afterward. Oh yeah. You can even join our team. There's an offer that you cannot refuse. You can't refuse. When you join us, Caterpie, we'll let you be a Big Wheel and Team Meanies. Kick, 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 kick. That's the deal, Flare. The first to rescue wins. Come on, move, let's get this done already. Don't worry about a thing, we'll rescue your friend first. Marxy, let's get going. Okay, let's go get our team members first. It better not be freaking tiny ones, I swear to God. Let's get Dark Dog. Dark Dog! Darky! We should also try to get Touchy. Touchy. Let's go get Touchy! Why are you so frigid today, Touchy? What have you been touching? That's not very good for you. Okay, let's get going. Sinister Woods. Okay. That is definitely not Tiny Woods. Ah! Okay, we have to ditch somebody. Dark Dog. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to be on standby for this one. Oh, that was definitely fast. Okay, let's continue to Sinister Woods. This is it. Metapod is lost somewhere in these woods. Gengar's gang should already be here. We ought to hurry. Welcome to Sinister Woods. Sinister Woods is the 4th dungeon in the game. There are 13 floors and 14 Pokemon. Swinoobs, Odysseus, Sudowoodos, Sunflowers, Sintret, Silcoons, Cascoons, Shroomish, Leon, Littlebuzz, Whoopers, Scyther, Hoot-Hoot, Slykoths, and Executors. That is all, and we shall continue with the Let's Play. And with that out of the way, let us continue onward to Swinubs. Hello, Swinub. That Sudowoodo isn't moving. That's fucking creepy. Well, you're dead. See you later, creepy Sudowoodo Wada La. That's your name now, Sudowoodo Wada La. This music is scaring me, guys. Not really. Okay, so Sinister Woods does not really consist of all grass types, as is explained in the description beforehand. So, yeah. Don't be expecting Wurmples and Sunkerns this time, guys. Unless, of course, there are Wurmples and Sunkerns in this dungeon, which would be fucking retarded. I would yell and slap a bitch. Flare, don't go picking up things off the ground. That's nasty. What if you don't know where those berries have been? Put that back down. Seriously? Another creepy-ass Sudowoodo? You can deal with that. You can deal with the Sudowoodo, guys. I'm just gonna try getting money, because that's where it's all at. That was so worth it. Sudowoodo was defeated. Oranberry. Oranberries, only 2nd floor. Oranberries, it's the 2nd floor. Okay, we're at the freaking 3rd floor now. I guess they didn't want me singing anymore. It's a Sentret. I don't know how to pronounce the damn thing. Yes, it's Sentret. No, Sentret, come back. We just want to be friends. Come back here. Damn it. Oh, there is a grass type. My bad. There's some Flora. I should have known that. Yo, don't you dare beat up on my son, Flora. I mean, my Touchy. Sorry, Touchy. I got you mixed up for a flower. That's okay, though. Right? Right. Okay, let's keep going. Money. Sorry I'm ditching so many items, guys. It's just that... Oh, God, that fucking creepy-ass Sudowoodo, go away! Nobody loves you. Why is that thing still running around everywhere? Like, don't follow me and then get scared like a little... Oh, well, Now I have to fight the damn set. Oh, fuck you. You know what? You're getting whipped. Apparently not. You're not getting whipped. Just whip that guy. And let's get on with it. Sudowoodo, you're a creepy little... Oh, Oddish? Oddish. So, guys, I was completely wrong. Apparently there are grass types in here. Just not the same grass types as before, so that's good. Let's just tackle them. I mean, come on. Dinosaur on weird turnip action. Actually, that looks more like a... I don't even know anymore. Let's just continue. Ditch the money. We gotta go frickin' save Metapod. Why was Caterpie playing in here again? Why aren't they playing in tiny woods like smart people? Like Caterpie was all like, I have an idea, guys. Let's just go play in frickin' Sinister Woods. I know that we're gonna get lost in everything and might die, but you know what? I'm frickin' tired of Sunkern. And you know what I just realized? Sunflora is the evolution of Sunkern. They're out for revenge. Flare! You can go suck. Oh, that's a dead end, and I can't squeeze through that little tiny crack because I'm too fat, because I'm a Bulbasaur. But that's okay, because there's stairs right here. And I just saw a Cascoon or a Silcoon or whatever. I ain't gonna go bother. There's another one. Oh god, they're everywhere. Well, let's just continue. Oh my god, it's a Lydia. Oh, a Lidiba. A Lidiba? I call them Lydias. I've already called. I guess it's because of their evolution, which is a Lydian. Or Lidbian? I don't even know. Lesbian. Its evolution is lesbian. Is that a evolution of frickin' Zigzagoon? I don't even need frickin' Raccoon anymore. I can just get this guy. Except he just tackled me, and that hurt. I don't know why I didn't attack back like a normal person would, but you know what? Why are there stairs in a forest? Whooper! Whoopers! They're so freaking happy all the freaking time. Just gonna... Oh god, I hope I don't die. I can't die. If I die now, guys, my whole entire career is over. Flare, do something instead of standing like an idiot. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna have to eat an orange berry. Ain't gonna risk. There we go, and now I'm healed back to full health. And I can... God, this is freaking going nowhere. There we go. Freaking how do you pronounce their name anyways? Linoon? A Linoon? Okay, well, Linoon is being an ass. And you know what? Flare is just fucking standing there doing nothing! You freaking bird! Do something! I guess you did something? I don't even. Anyways, let's just continue onward. At least we got our orange berry back. That's good. But there are more of these assholes. What the heck? Wait. Did I just see right? Did I just see Soother? What the hell's a Soother? Definitely no, it was not Whooper. Wow, Touchy, way to go frickin' ruin everything for us. Just frickin' miss tackle. You can go die now. Hey, there's the staircases. I guess we won't get to see if it was a Soother or not. Whatever a Soother is. I've never heard of a Soother. Shroomish? Maybe that's what it's a Scyther! Oh, Scyther! I thought it said Soother. Oh, God. Now we're paralyzed. This is not good. Let's just tackle him. I'm paralyzed. How can I do things when I'm paralyzed? Oh, I'm not paralyzed anymore. Okay. Ha 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 ha. I leveled up off of a shroomish. I hate shroomishes. Mushrooms and shroomishes can go die in a hole. I don't even care if it evolves into a mushroom kangaroo or anything like that, but you know, I better be able to attack this thing when it's in the water, because I actually forget to... Okay, nope. This isn't in the freaking water. You can't do anything. When enemies are over giant gaps or pools of water and your enemy can't go into the water, the attack will just fail and it'll be sad. So yeah. Make sure you have at least one floaty dude, I guess. Even though you can't control them, they can sometimes help you, just so I'm keeping Touchy around, because, yeah. We need Touchy? Touchy? Oh fuck, it's a Scyther. It's a Soother! What are we gonna do? It's a Soother! Soothers! Yay, Touchy grew to a level... Bzz, bzz, Magnemite leveled up. No, your name is Touchy! Get it right. God damn it, Touchy. Let's just continue onward. I might have to split this video into two because this might take a while. And I would not want to stop recording and doing stuff, so... yes. We're going to try and get one more floor, and if it's not the top floor, then I will call it an episode and split it into two. Because I don't want to make you guys have to sit through freaking 40 minutes of me just dicking around looking for things. Oh, it's an executor! It's Envy! Envy, what are you doing here? Well, Envy is dead. I wish Edward knew how to do that. Another freaking Envy. And we're gonna... another Soother? Seriously? Flare, why don't you use your fire type move? It's really effective against bugs. We're getting hungry? Okay, we're getting hungry. Do we have an apple? You can eat the apple. Eat it. Let's just ignore the sleeping Pokemon and continue to find our way. There's the stairs. We were like right next to them for like ever. Let's just proceed to 12th floor. So guys, since this is gonna take like forever and a half, I will, I guess, be uploading 2 videos today. And I will split this in half, so see you guys in the next video. Hello everybody, and welcome back to Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team. In the last episode, we ended up here, and we're gonna continue going through here. I fought a few things off the screen because I just wanted to see what was in here, and I might have cleared out the floor, which would be nice. Oh, no, never mind. Never mind, guys, there's a hoot hoot. I don't give a hoot hoot, because it's a hoot hoot. That pun was horrible. You guys can slap me all in the face if you feel like it. All in the face. That makes sense. So many freaking executors! Look at their derpy faces. Let's just continue onward. What if this was the last floor? I would laugh so hard. It was the last floor! Wow, we came quite a ways into the forest. I wonder if Metapod is ahead. Hold it right there. Kick. You know who's going to get Metapod first? We are. So, for you to go ahead, well, we can't let that happen. What? Now hold on, Gengar. Why do you always interfere with us? Oh, didn't we tell you? Our aim is world domination. Caterpie's mama will give us a generous reward. But Caterpie will join us too. That brings us closer to our goal. Wow, guys, you do realize Caterpies like suck, right? They're like, and for that, your lot is in the way. So sorry to say, but your party's over right here, right now. Say goodbye, Flare. What? We're fighting them? Okay. Guys, walk up towards us. Good. These guys aren't too hard. If I die to them, then I'm just gonna scream really loud. Oh, no, he cursed him. He cursed Tachi! Wow, they're kind of... Oh. Hopefully Tachi can survive, because he seems to be the only one who can do damage. Really, Metachan? Could you... Oh! That is not nice. Why is freaking... You know what? I'm gonna go for Ekans. I probably saw some weird magical thing that Metachan put on herself. Oh, well, Gengar's dead. Flare grew to a level 12. Anyways, yeah, Metachan probably just put Protect on or something like that. So we'll just have to wait it out. Yep, her Protect wore off. What even? I'm cringing. Ooh, this is close. Well, Metachan is dead. Now it's just time for you to die. Ekans. Ekans. Don't you dare fucking hurt her. Only I can abuse her. Ooh. This is gonna be close. Yep, that was definitely close for comfort. Looks like we beat them. Ow, 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 ow. You'll pay for this. Don't you forget it. Look at Ekans, he's all just like, they see me moving. Excuse me. Oh, what the Did you maybe come looking for me? You must be Metapod. Let's get you home. Caterpie was worried about you. Yay. I was scared, so I kept my shell. Is it like the running joke of Metapods? Just use Harden. Use Harden. Use Harden. This is great. Welcome back, Metapod. Thank you, Caterpie. And thank you, Flare and Marxy. Don't forget Touchy. But I don't have any money. Oh, no. We don't need a reward. We're happy to see that Metapod is back safe and sound. Cool. You're even more cool than I thought. I want to go on rescues when I grow up. Ha 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 ha! That would be great. Chase that dream. I have an idea. Marxy, why don't we do something here? We should make a proper rescue team base here. Something impressive. That's cool. Rescue team base is cool. I want to work here when I grow up. Okay, guys, give me a second. Okay, sorry about that. Me too, me too! Ha 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 ha! What will we do? Let's be sure to build our own rescue team base. Marxy and Flare, thank you again. Okay, bye. Be careful going home. What even? Sigh. Well, we ended up working for free, but that was the right thing to do. And we got to show Gengar's team a thing or two, so it's all good. That was a tiring day. Let's do some more good tomorrow. See ya! Bye, Flare. Yep. The next morning, more plot happened. Let's leave immediately. Marxy, good morning. Let's do good again today. Now we're back to English. Hello? Wait, oh, did we just... Huh? Who could that be? Is Rescue Team Elements here? That's right. Huh? Wait, aren't you... Please help my friend, please. I need help. Forget it. We're not about to work for that. But my friends need a gust of wind, please. I remember. You're that Jumpluff in Pokemon Square. We saw Shiftry agreeing to do your rescue job. Yes, but Shiftry, he hasn't come back yet from the rescue mission. Are you serious? Our friend Jumpluff got wedged between some rocks. We Jumpluff can go anywhere if we can catch a wind, but even though the skies are filled with thunderclouds, for some odd reason the wind hasn't blown. Not even a breeze? That's strange. Shiftry's leaf fans can whip up powerful winds. We thought Shiftry's wind would be able to dislodge our friend but Shiftry hasn't returned. It doesn't sound like all that challenging of a rescue mission. It is strange. Oh, that's the spirit, Marxie. Your expression tells me you're ready. Okay, we'll go look for them. Really? Thank you. No problem, you can count on us. Let's go, Marxie. Okay, honestly, don't have time for another mission right now. So we're gonna go do something real quick, and we're gonna end it off, yeah. I saw something about gulping, so let's go talk about gulping. We can link moves together. Linking moves is, interesting to say the least. Basically what happens is you get two moves in one, but if one move has less PP than the other, then the link is broken. And yeah, let's go freaking store our money and call it an episode. We store half of what we have, so that would be like something like this. Okay. We don't want to store anymore. So, this was a short episode, but it's linked to the other episodes, so yeah. I may just connect the two. Who knows? Anyways, let's go save in the vagina hole. And we'll call it an episode. It's been MARXtehCRAZY, and someone stole my identity.